All right, third time's the charm, folks. I don't know how many times I have to keep apologizing. I've never had this happen 3 times before, where my camera has literally died and will just freeze and refuses to work. So again, third time's a charm here, folks. Let's see if we can actually get a podcast going. I apologize to y'all. I don't know why this is happening. My camera keeps dying. I don't know why this keeps happening. Let's just get into it, guys. Follow me on Twitter, subscribe to the channel. Super chats are open, and check out theracingexperts.com for all NASCAR-related content. I'm your host, Colby Evans, and yeah, I'm just trying to get a podcast done, and my camera keeps freezing on me. So again, I apologize. I don't know why this is happening. Hopefully we don't have any more freezes. Hopefully we don't. So, Watkins Glen, for the third time's charm, is the Connor Zilisch show. We were talking about how, he was searching for redemption from last year, okay? And we had some heavy hitters in the field. Like I said, Ryan Jamel, Thomas Annunziata, Chris Wright, William Sawalich, who's really stepped it up on the road courses, Brandon Jones from the Xfinity Series, Connor Mosack. There were some heavy hitters in the field. So that's why, when I mentioned on last week's show, I didn't think that it was going to be a walk-away victory for Connor Zilisch. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. I figured maybe we'd have some competition, and no. I mean, after the first turn one corner, that was it. That was literally it. There was no competition. I mean, you talk about some ARCA races this season that have had literally zero competition. And there have been, unfortunately, a few ARCA races this season that have had zero competition. This was one of them. And as great of a performance as it was, it's just like, wow. Wow. I did not expect that. I don't think a lot of people expected that either. I think people probably expected Connor to win, but I don't think they expected him to do that good. I mean, without the mandatory halfway break caution, could he have lapped the field? I don't know. Like if they had to do green flag pit stops, I don't know what that would have looked like, but had they just went the entire race green, would Connor have lapped the field? I don't know if he would have lapped the field, but he probably would have lapped to fourth or third. But yeah, so Watkins Glen nonetheless. Great to see 29 cars, the biggest field since 2021. Great field of entries. Did have a couple of starting parks in there, of course. Brad Smith, Brayton Laster, were the only two, and Nate Muller. Those are the 3 starting parks in the field. So we had 26 full race cars. So a decent amount of full-size car count. We had 22 last year. So already off the bat, we were doing a lot better in terms of car counts. And, you could say while competition hasn't been the biggest thing in 2024, the one big thing that 2024 ARCA Menard Series can really hang their hats on, I feel like, is that the car counts have been up. And, at the end of the day, one of the things that this series really got nagged on in COVID and the first year coming out of COVID were the car counts. And luckily, ever since 2022, I feel like we've been on the upturn of car counts. And that is so good to see in this series. Absolutely. Especially as the costs and the cars tour and late models rise. A lot of those guys, there's a lot of those guys who are actually coming over from late models to ARCA. Mainly because it's now at this point, it's actually the same price. It really is, from what I've heard talking to late model car owners and ARCA team owners. The prices really aren't that different compared. They really, really are not for a Cars Tour ride versus an ARCA ride. They really range. Well, I wouldn't say they're the same, but they're pretty close. So, but a pretty stacked entry list. Like I said, you might have heard the name Ryan Jamel. Well, who's Ryan Jamel? He's actually a vintage racer on the NASCAR Classic circuit with Joe Nemechek. So this weekend actually saw, which I hope is not just one-time deal, but the return of Nimco Motorsports. Joe Nemechek returned in an ownership role with Ryan Jamel behind the wheel. Run the number 29. Unfortunately, they couldn't run number 8 or 87, the main Nimco numbers. I guess they could have probably done a partnership deal. It would have been cool to see the Nimco 87 back just one more time. But obviously the Chuck Buchanan Jr. team own that car, or in that car number, and Sean Corr owns the number 8. But it would have been cool if they could have teamed together and ran the number 8 as a tribute to John, or the number 87, which has been Joe's big number. That would have been cool to see one of those numbers back just for one more time. But yeah, it was one of the more oddball entries. But I don't know if, for anyone who didn't know who he was, he's a vintage racer. He drives a Toyota Camry, a COT Toyota Camry from the then Nationwide series from like, 2013, 2014, probably that era Toyota Camry. He drives that for Joe Nemechek in the Vintage Series, and he's won championships. I mean, he's a very, very accomplished road racer. This guy was no slouch, but I figured I'd just explain who this guy was because he was kind of the oddball, one of the oddball entries in the field. But yeah, coming into this race, I had picked Connor Zilisch to win. Yes, I mean, I took the conservative approach, but I believe I picked Thomas Annunziata as my underdog pick. But coming out of practice, it was kind of clear that it was going to be a walk away for Connor Zilisch. I mean, this guy laid down a flyer of a qualifying lap. Usually in practice, they'll lay down some qualifying laps. William Sawalich's last lap was a 75.247. Connor Zilich's last lap was a 74.07. A full second faster than second place was Connor Zilisch. That's impressive. And when you really think about how in second place is the mighty Joe Gibbs, how in third place is the mighty Venturini. So it's really, really impressive that this organization with this young driver is outrunning Gibbs and Venturini that much on a road course. And other guys who I thought would be contention up there for the win, Connor Mosack, he was 2 seconds off. Brandon Jones was 2 seconds off. Chris Wright was 2 seconds off. Jamel, he was 3 seconds off. I mean, these guys, they're going as hard as they can. They just cannot compete with that 28 car, man. And you could say the same thing about qualifying as well. Connor Zilisch obviously won the pole, went even faster, broke into the 73-second bracket, and beat William Sawalich by almost a second in qualifying. 0.7 of a second, he beat him in qualifying. So, I mean, it was just... I don't know if there was anything William Sawalich. The only thing he probably could have done was turn the 18 and going into turn 1. But Connor probably would have just came back through the field anyway. He probably just would have came back through the field anyway. So I don't think there was anything stopping that 28 car. A couple other notables. Thomas Annunziata qualified a very impressive third. Andres Perez de Lara, the championship leader, was fourth. Gio Rogero was fifth, which is pretty good considering Gio's lack of road course experience. Brandon Jones was sixth. Chris Wright was seventh. Connor Mosack eighth. LeVar Scott ninth. And Ryan Jamel was 10th. 27 of the 29 cars took a qualifying lap. Rob Pelosi in the 31 did not make a lap. And Amber Balkin had a mechanical issue. She had mechanical issues in practice, which did result in a spin. And she had mechanical issues in qualifying. Now, she did technically post a time, but it was a 6-minute lap. So it technically really didn't count. And unfortunately for Amber Balkin, she did not start the race. Very rare time where you will see a Venturini car not start the race. I don't remember the last time we have seen a Venturini car not start the race. But unfortunately, we were starting without her. And Brad Smith, as you guys know with Brad, he doesn't really like the road course races. He'll tell you that himself. Brad does not like going to them. He only goes to the road course races simply because he has to for points and for bonus money purposes. He has to show up. Otherwise, he doesn't get any bonus money at the end of the year. So he didn't even complete a lap. He did start the race, yes, but he just pulled off after the first lap before hitting the finish line. So he pulled off. So we had 2 cars off early, which, again, I knew was going to happen. Zilisch, man, I mean, within 2 laps, this guy had 2 seconds on the field. By lap 5, he had 5 seconds on this field. It was amazing. And you think of the competitiveness that is behind him. Brandon Jones, William Sawalich, Thomas Annunziata, and this guy is just laying them down. It's like qualifying laps every single lap. And you hear, the TV come on the radio and say, Connor's not happy with his car. Like, he's this fast. He's laying down these lap times, and he's not 100% happy with his car. And it just makes you think, man, if he was 100% happy with his car, how much faster he could have gone. I mean, that's scary. That is scary. They did catch lap traffic pretty quickly. They caught the 0-3 of Club. It was kind of a rough race for Alex Club, man. Like I said, they broke a transmission back at Mid-Ohio, so I'm pretty sure he was probably taking it easy in this race, but it was kind of a rough race for him. He did get through it on and off pit road. I don't know if he went to the garage at all, but they caught the 0-6 of Nate Muller like in 5 laps. So, like usual, some lap traffic issues, but you got to cut those guys some slack. Those cars aren't made for road courses. They're just trying to do the best they can. Again, and they're here as well. I don't think Alex would willingly go to a road course, and I don't think Nate Muller would willingly go to a road course. Again, those teams are here because they're full season cars. They have to get that bonus money at the end of the year. So it's another reason why they did show up. But like I said, they're trying their best because those cars are not made to go left and right. Those cars are just made to really go left, and they're just trying to convert them to go left and right. So, Brayton last year would pull off after 8 laps. Unfortunately for Tim Richmond, the transmission I believe they said the transmission locked up. So he had to pull off after 8 laps. Rob Pelosi, which really sucked. He didn't get any laps in at Mid-Ohio due to a clutch issue and only got 9 laps in here before he had to pull off. Cody Dennison broke a ball joint. He said a ball joint broke, so that ended his day. And Nate Muller pulled off after 15 laps. I don't know if there was any mechanical problems because I do believe they were a starting park. They just wanted to get some good amount of laps in for Nate to get used to the road courses. But that was all the DNFs, primarily starting parks. A couple of cars broke. Ed Pompa was in and out of the garage all day. He would finish the race, albeit 17 laps down, but he did finish. So, like I said, also Alex Club in and out of the garage in pit road, and same for Michael Maples. But again, they all finished as well. I just wanted to get those out of the way first. We had some more spins. Christopher Worth, he spun in the inner loop, as well as Michael Maples did. Again, you also got to cut Michael Maples some slack. He's not a road course guy either. He's learning these for the first time. Christopher Worth, he did run this race back in 2022, I believe, so it was great to see him back. But yeah, by the time this race had gotten to halfway, we had literally had a 15-second lead for William Sawalch. William Sawalch probably wishes it was him, but but he had a 15-second lead. Did Connor Zilisch? I mean, when you talk about an ass whooping, we were seeing a literal ass whooping in front of our eyes. It was amazing, and that's literally all there was in the first half. I mean, Connor was just pulling away, and they were dicing in the middle of the pack. Dylan Lupton got turned around one point in turn 1. The battle between the cars who were like 5th to like 10th, that was probably your best battle for the whole race. Those cars were pretty even, like Annunziata, like Jamel, Wright, Mosak, Ruggiero, Perez. There was a good conglomerate of cars from about 5th to 10th that were actually putting on a pretty decent battle. And then in the second half, unfortunately on the restart, William Sawalch actually beat Connor Zilisch to the line on the restart. So by technicality, William actually got credit for leading that lap. So it was not a flag-to-flag victory for Connor Zilisch, just by a technicality right there. So unfortunately, I can't say that they led flag to flag, but they did lead 40 of 41 laps. But yeah, in that second half, again, there really was not much. Connor Zilisch, he got away, and I'll say William kept up with him a little bit better the first time. The second time around, he was only 11 seconds back. Brandon Jones, like I said, they're trying their hardest, and they're running good laps. I mean, both Sawalch, Jones, Perez, and Mosak were running really good laps, some of their fastest laps of the race towards the end. And Connor's still beating them like crazy. I mean, what else can you say? And shocker, Connor Zilisch comes across the line and he wins. In terms of the main division, if you take out his East wins, his East win at Flat Rock, this is, let's see here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, his 5th win. And then if you count Flat Rock, that's 6, I believe, for the year. So, I mean, this kid's just on fire. And he just turned 18 like a month or two ago. So, Yeah, Connor Zilisch wins. Brandon Jones, William Sawalich was second. Brandon Jones was third. Andres Breslaro was fourth. Actually, a pretty good run by a championship regular. So fourth place. Connor Mosek fifth. Gio sixth. Thomas Annunziata seventh. Really good run for Ryan Jamel in eighth for his debut. LeVar Scott ninth, and Dylan Lupton was 10th. Dale Quarterly 11th. Chris Wright 12th. Andy J was 13th. Very quiet race for Marco Andretti. Only 14th place. I figured he would have been more of a factor. Jake Finch in the 55. Road courses just don't seem to be his thing. He struggled in this race last year, and he struggled in this race this year as well. But, I applaud him for trying to get some road course experience. I mean, these are not easy tracks to drive on. Christian Rose was 16th. Tony Breidinger was 17th. Now, there was a caveat for Tony Breidinger. She is still dealing with a foot injury, I believe a foot burn, actually. And she was seen on one of those, knee carts. That you see someone, they bend their leg and they put it on a cart and they kind of just push themselves along. She was seen on one of those before the race, and it was announced that there would be a driver change at the second half. And I believe his name was Caden Lapsevich, who was previously ran in I'm not sure if he still runs in the Penny Series. If he runs in the series now, I'm not sure. But I know he's previously ran in the Pennies division. He got behind the wheel of her 25 car. No practice laps, and he actually went faster than her. And he did fine. Unfortunately, Tony lost a lap, so there was not much Caden could really do in the 25 car, but still nursed it home to a 17th place finish. Alex Quarterly, Dale's was he Dale's son? Is that Dale's son, Alex Quarterly, or is his brother? I think it's his son. He finished 18th. Chris Worth 19th. Michael Maples 20th. Alex Clubb 21st, and Ed Pompa 22nd. Those were the cars that finished, and we already went over the DNFs. So, yeah, definitely not the strongest. Watkins Glen ARCA race, that's for sure. Last year was a banger. In the at Watkins Glen. This year, not so much, and that's okay. We're going to have those races in ARCA. This was just a good old-fashioned ass whooping. That's what it was. I think that is honestly the best way to describe this race, was a good old-fashioned ass whooping. Connor Zilisch absolutely murdered the field. And he also proved this win was no slouch by literally winning his Xfinity debut the next day. He won in the Junior Motorsports 88 car. So he definitely proved that this ARCA win was no slouch. He showed them all. He won the pole. He had the race well in hand, even through the chaos restarts, saved fuel, and deservingly won that race. I mean, what else can you say about this guy? He is a superstar. He is the future. And I hope he's in the sport for many, many years to come. It's just weird. I'm 23, and seeing this 18-year-old, I'm a little jealous. I'm sure a lot of people are. But I hope this kid gets the rides and the opportunities he deserves. This much raw talent at this age. Yeah, I know Cody. Cody Dennison's now in the chat. I can understand Cody. I get it. I can understand that completely. But yeah, I hope this kid gets the opportunities he deserves, man. Because to be this talented, have this racecraft at such a young age, you don't see that in a lot of 18-year-olds. A lot of 18-year-old drivers will just run over you. They don't really have racecraft. They just know how to dump you or run you into the wall, something like that. This kid, he gets it. He gets it on the track. And, then that's number one, how you gain respect. And number two, it just shows you're so good in all types of racing, from road course to intermediates. He hasn't been on a plate track yet, simply because he just turned 18. Simply just because he turned 18. I'm sure we'll see him on the plate tracks next year for sure. But I wish this kid nothing but the best next year in 2025, driving for Junior Motorsports. Absolutely wish him nothing but the best. Like I said, as for everybody else in the field, they tried their best, but it wasn't going to be enough for him. Looking at the point standings after this race, like I said, LeVar Scott, unfortunately, just some late races Some late race issues over the past couple of races and some struggles have landed him pretty far back. Andres Perez de Lara will be your 2024 Driver Series champion. The Joe Gibbs 18 car will be your 2024 Owners Championship winners. Those titles have pretty much been locked up for about the last 5 to 6 races, realistically. The battle is really kind of for the second through probably, I don't know, 9th. LeVar Scott is second, minus 54. Chris Wright is third, minus 75. Those spots, I would say, are pretty well locked. But we still have a battle for 4th and 5th. Christian Rose is 4th, minus 112. And Tony Breidinger is minus 118. So that battle could easily be settled. Amber is just kind of by herself right now, 157. Michael Maples and Cody Dennison are literally separated by 1 point. So, for Cody Dennison and Maples, that they're going to try their hardest. 2 fast track guys going to race hard but race clean for 7th in points. Alex Clubbs is kind of by himself in 9th, and William Sawalich is actually 10th in points despite missing 7 races. Just shows you how good 5 races, I should say. But it just goes to show you how good he is. He's still 10th in points. But yeah. Whew. So that was Watkins Glen. Not the best Watkins Glen race. But this track, I believe, will be on the ARCA schedule next year. I hope it is. It's a fun racetrack. And without Connor Zilisch in the field, and probably not William Sawalich. Both of those guys are Williams not confirmed for full-time Xfinity, but I would bet that's where he's going. And Connor Zilisch is already confirmed for full-time Xfinity. So the ARCA race at Watkins Glen next year is wide open. Wide open for sure. So we will now transition over to Bristol. It's Bristol, baby. Yes, one of my personal favorite short tracks on the schedule. The Bush's Best 200 or the Bush's Beans 200, whatever the heck they call it. I don't know. The race sign says Bush's Best. ARCARacing.com has it listed as Bush Beans. I don't know. I'm going to call it Bush Beans because it rolls off the tongue better. So, and staggering, a great field of cars for this one. 34 cars, a great field of entries for this race. Nice to see so many cars show up. Last year's race got 32, so to have more cars show up, always a bonus. So this is going to take me a little bit, but we are going to go all the way down the list from top to bottom, listing out every car and entry. So we will start off with the 0 of Nate Muller. Peterson usually brings the 0 to the East races for points purposes, trying to get that top 15 bonus. The number 1 of Jake Finch. It looks like Jake Finch will be running his own car under James Finch this weekend. The 2, your champion, Andres Perez de Lara. The 6 of LeVar Scott. A 3rd Siegel entry, the 9 of Logan Misaraka with Clean Harbors on the car. So good to see Logan back in the series. Cody Dennison moves over to the 10, mainly because Zachary Tinkle in the 11 is the primary East driver. Eric Caudell returns to the ARCA Menard series for the first time since Talladega, driving the number 12. That is his own car, I believe, not Fast Tracks. But great to see Eric Caudell back in the series. Chris Wright in the 15, Marco Andretti in the 17, William Sawalich, of course, in the 18, Gio Ruggiero in the 20, Amber Balkin in the 22, Tyler Reif, who's killing it over on the West Series right now, is in the 23 for Joe Ferre, Tony Breidinger in the 25, Tim Richmond in the 27, Connor Zilisch in the 28, Tim Goulet, not Rita Goulet, but Tim Goulet in the 31, Christian Rose in the 32. Lawless Allen returns into the ARCA series in the 33. Greg Van Alst returns to the ARCA series in the 35. D.L. Wilson, East regular in the 39. Good old Brad Smith in the 48. Dean Thompson in the 55. Dawson Sutton in the 71, a very unique entry from the Chris Hettinger team that Katie usually drives for, late model team with Team Hornaday Development. Dawson will be behind the wheel, so that's a unique entry. Andy Jankoliak in the 73. Corey Day, you might remember him from Salem. He's in the 82, a second Pinnacle Racing Group entry. Brian Clubb is in the 93. Now, that's noted, not the 86. They are running as the number 93 this weekend. And the only reason why I can think about that is to keep the 93 in the owner's point bonus for the E-Series Owners Championship. Obviously, I don't know if Caleb could not find a deal for this race, and instead of Alex just bringing the 86, bring it as the 93, and they might split some money, something like that. That's the only reason I can think why they would bring the 93 or do that deal. Andrew Patterson, the 95. Good to see Landon Lewis back. We have not seen him much of all this year. He's been primarily on the Cars Tour, driving for Kevin Harvick's team. Dale Shear's back. Great to see him back. Michael Maples in the 99, of course. Alex Clubb in the 03. And Mitch Gibson returns to the series, driving the 06 for Peterson. Woo! That's a lot to get through. That is a lot to get through, 34 cars. So, yeah, I would just imagine that, like I said, the whole Costner Club deals for owner point purposes because, like I said, the top 15 owners points get a bonus. And obviously, the higher you finish, I believe probably the more money you get. That's probably how that works. But the primary of this race is not only is it a main division race, this is the finale of the East Series Championship. And right now, the East Series Championship points look like this with one race left to go. Connor Zilisch leads William Sawalich by 16 points. Gio Ruggiero is third. He is not eligible. He will finish third. Zachary Tinkle is fourth. D.L. Wilson is fifth. Cody Dennison is sixth. Michael Maples is seventh. They are the full-time East Series drivers. Right now, it's a pretty hotly contested battle for first and second. And not only that, in one battle, guys, you will have to keep your eyes on. The top five go to the banquet. The top five in the East Series points go to the banquet. So right now, that top five position is held by D.L. Wilson. Cody Dennison is in sixth, and Michael Maples is in seventh. From the distance from DL to Maples is only 15 points. So that can change a lot. Cody Dennison is only 7 points behind DL Wilson. So when you ask yourself, well, what are some of these guys doing, just running around in the middle of the pack? Well, that tells you right there. They have a reason. For Cody Dennison, this is a very important weekend for him. I'm sure if Cody's still watching, he understands. It's a very important weekend for him. He's got to be ahead of D.L. Wilson by 7 spots. Now, he'll probably go to the banquet in general because of the main division, but I'm just meaning more towards the E-Series Championship. You get like 2 trophies then or something like that. But yeah, still a hotly contested battle for top 5 in the E-Series Championship. But obviously, we're here to talk about the 1 and 2. Now, championship scenarios. Luckily, ARCARacing.com literally just posted this article talking about championship scenarios. And I'll read this off to you guys. So in terms of Connor Zilisch versus William Sawalich, to secure his first ARCA title, if Connor Zilisch finishes 11th or better, regardless of what William Sawalich does in the race, Connor Zilisch is your champion. If he finishes 12th, then that would open the door for Sawalich to take his second consecutive title. So, and that is based on the projected 34-car entry, and I believe with the bonus points for the pole award and leading a lap in the most laps. I believe that's all taken into account. Now, the one exception for this year's point standings issues is that Dover race. And ironically enough, let's say hypothetically William Sawalich did not have that Dover crash and, maybe he didn't win, but like finished second or third. He would be right there. He would be right there with Connor Zilisch. And it makes me wonder, man, do they remember that crash? Because who was the car that got into William Sawalich at Dover? It was Connor Zilisch. And, well, what happens at Bristol a lot? Wrecks. People wrecking each other. And I just wonder, man, is the 18 of William Sawalich saving his payback for this weekend? I know I don't want to put it out there like that, but you never know. These teams are ruthless. They spend a lot of money, millions of dollars have been spent trying to go after this E-Series championship. So, the 28 and the 18 are going to bring the absolute best of what they got. Absolute best. But it would not shock me if we see Connor Zilisch or if we see William Sawalich get a little bit of revenge from Dover on Connor Zilisch, because it really was that Dover crash that opened up the points gap that William Sawalich has had such a tough time climbing back from. And with 34 cars in the field, there's plenty of stuff to go wrong. We saw last year, poor Luke Fenhouse, he still had a mathematical chance at the championship last year, but he crashed out early due to a couple of blown tires. So anything can happen. Anything can happen. Now, in this race on the entry list, we will have a couple of starting parks, of course. The 48 of Brad Smith, the 93 of Brian Clubb, the 0 of Nate Muller. Dale Shear's not a starting park, but I just can't see him out there for too long because of, potentially getting black flagged for being too slow, or, if it gets too hot in the car like he did at Salem. So I'm not going to say he's a starting park, but I don't expect Dale to be out there too long. I hope he's out there as long as he can be. But in terms of starting parks and cars that will probably pull off early, maybe like 3 or 4. So you're probably looking at an estimate of about 29 to 30 cars that'll be going the whole race. Okay, so Dale is not running the distance, and I didn't think he was. I didn't think Dale was. But you got about 29 to 30 cars that are going to be going the distance. That is a lot. And when you consider about how fast and how slow some of these cars be, because one of the things we talk about every year with these ARCA races at Bristol is the closing rates. The closing rates that some of these guys, like the fast guys will just charge up on these slower cars. And these slower guys are going as hard as they can. Like I said, especially when it comes to, power off the corners. That's where a lot of these SB2 motors, D3s and R5s, that's where they're really at a disadvantage. The Yates motors are pretty competitive on this track too, but come on, you need to know more. You really do need to know more. I did say that last week's race was open. I'm not sure, man. I really can honestly say that your winner is probably going to be either Connor Zilisch or William Sawalich. I know Gio is going to be aggressive. They'll probably want to get a win to wrap up his season. I'm not sure if Gio is doing any more races after this. He might be. I'm not sure if he is or not. I haven't looked at his schedule. But people like him, Tyler Reif, he's going to be aggressive. Andres Perez de Lara, LeVar Scott. LeVar's really stepped it up on the short tracks too, so don't count him out. Landon Lewis, he actually led laps in this race last year, so don't count him out either. Or Corey Day, Dean Thompson as well. Even Lawless Allen. He showed a lot of promise at Milwaukee. So I wouldn't count out some guys just yet, but it would not shock me. It really would not shock me if your winner is either the 28 or the 18. But I just wonder, man, is it going to get a little ugly between those two guys? I wouldn't shock me. It would not shock me because, when it comes to these championships, especially even just the East Championship, if you're in it to win it, you're in it to win it. So, and like I said, the main standings coming into this race, the East standings coming into this race, like I said, 16-point gap. 11th or better, that's all Connor Zilisch has to do. So you just question now, does Connor Zilisch stay to what he's been doing all this season and go good, or does he play it conservative? Does he try to stay away from the 18? Because realistically at Bristol, there's nowhere to hide. I think we can all agree. There's nowhere to hide at Bristol. Does he just try to stay out front, go for the win again, or does he play it safe? He's got his backup car out there with him, the 82. I'm sure if any shenanigans go on with the 18, the 82 is going to help him take care of stuff. So, which makes me really shocked why JGR did not run the number 81. They didn't run the 81 in last year's race either. Which shocked me because they did that in 2021. They had that in 2021 and 2022. But they did not run the 81 in 2023. They really didn't need it. William probably had the title locked up. But this year, too, with him actually being behind, I'm really shocked that JGR did not roll out the number 81 for maybe not a Nemechek, but like maybe one of their truck drivers, like a Taylor Gray or something like that, Someone like that. It wouldn't shock. It just kind of shocked me that they would not run the number 81 car. But in terms of your champion, this would be the first E-Series champion, non-Gibbs. I mean, yeah, technically Sammy Smith won with KBM that 1 year, but that was because of a FedEx dispute. FedEx TMC issue. It really was Gibbs. They just had to change the name. This would be the first JGR title loss since 2020, when Sam Mayer and GMS. You might remember, despite the COVID issues, the E-Series still had a championship. They ran only 6 races, but they did have a championship, and Sam Mayer was the 2020 ARCA Menard Series East champion. So this would be the first East title win for Chevy since 2020, and they want it. Connor Zilisch wants it, and I think we're in for a good one, folks. I do. We're going to look at the entry blank real quick, talk about that, and then we'll start to wrap it up here. Down the entry blank. Again, this race is on a Thursday. You want to make sure, not a Friday, a Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Eastern. So it is going to be a little bit early, mainly because of the truck race is happening right afterwards. 34 cars in the field. Last place will be 1450. First place 10 with all contingency awards. First place is 18,300. Second place is 8825, and third place is 5,050. In terms of the brakes, race pit stop procedure, there will be a break at lap 100. So just one pit stop. So whatever you have for tires, you will have to conserve them. Bristol. Not sure if they're going to have a tire issue like the Cup cars did. But nonetheless, this is one of the races where you do need to save your tires for sure, especially at the end of the run, because they'll have 100 laps on them. So it also could come down to who saved their tires the most. But yeah, in terms of a race winner, I'm actually going to go with an oddball pick for the race winner in this one. I am going to go with Landon Lewis as the race winner. Now, I just said it could be the 28 or the 18, but I'm actually going with an oddball one. I'm going to go with Landon Lewis as my race winner. My champion, I do think Connor Zilisch will get the championship, even through some means. I don't know if he's going to have to be aggressive or not, but Connor Zilisch will be my champion, and I'm picking Landon Lewis to win the race. So I don't know what you guys are going to choose. You can put that in the comment section or in the chat, whatever you guys want to do. My last ARCA race of the season, did want to talk about this, will be the weekend after this one in Kansas. I'm not driving, unfortunately, but I will be there crewing. So if you're going to be going to Kansas, come say hi. Come say hi. I'm looking forward to that race. I don't know what my 2025 is going to look like, but let's just say this. I've got some big news, very, very big news coming up within the next week and a half is probably when I'll be able to make the news. So just saying, I got some really big news coming up, and I'm very, very excited to share it with all of you. So anyway, guys, looks like we're going to get out of here. I appreciate you guys all tuning into tonight's show. Again, we're only 16 subscribers away. So if you like what you see here, please subscribe to the channel. I want to get to 2,000 subs before the year, before the year is over. So anyway, guys, take care tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Enjoy the races on Thursday and on Friday and on Saturday. It's Bristol, baby. It's going to be a fun weekend. And yeah, I'm going to go have some dinner. And going to go hang out with some friends. And, yep, we'll catch you all in the next podcast, which probably will be Tuesday. Either Tuesday or Thursday of next week. I don't know. Depends on what day the entry list comes out. So, anyway, y'all, give you guys a goodbye salute. And, yep, I'll see you all next week. So, take care, guys. So long.